Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Wednesday, the 19th of March. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. A family is petitioning for naming rights to the road that will go through their privately owned land connecting to the Tauranga Eastern Link. Frank and Cecilia James are the original owners of the land sold to create the road and also own the land on either side. The couple say input on naming the new road was part of the original land sale negotiations but wasn't written into the formal agreement. They would like to name the road James Drive, or failing that, Faulkner Drive or Coastlands Drive. But Tauranga City Council is refusing the request, opting to make it a continuation of Sandhurst Drive. The council's naming policy is to give preference to names that reflect the identity of Tauranga, the historical significance of the area, the Māori and cultural influence, and people important to the area's history. A professionally printed coffee table book featuring photos of children from around the bay aims to raise money for Homes of Hope Tauranga. Local photographers Dean Preston and Leanne Fuller have joined forces to print the book Children of the Bay 2, with all proceeds going to the charity that sees young victims of abuse move to safe homes. Dean says they wanted to give back to a charity, and Homes of Hope is very deserving.
It's really to voice my expression of how my photography works, and Leanne to share our work out there, and also really to do something for local charity. And this is why we chose Homes of Hope, because we've got some good friends who are connected with it and wanted to just give the love, as they say. Yeah.
At the end of this month, a delegation from Tauranga City Council will head to the sister city, Hitachi. The delegation will not just visit the Japanese city, but also Yantai in China and Ansan in South Korea. The aim of the visit is to strengthen the ties between the sister cities and to gauge whether a similar relationship is viable with the other Asian cities. Councillor at Large Matthew Cowley will be part of the delegation.
So we leave on the 30th of March for 2 weeks. We're going to China, Japan and Korea. So we're looking forward to it to increase trade relationships between the three cities.
Bay of Plenty MP Tony Ryle officially opened Papamoa College's senior building last week, along with the Kaka Street Special School satellite class on campus. The building can house the entire senior school of 240 Year 11 and 12 students, and Principal Steve Lindsay says it's been future-proofed to allow for a further 120 students expected when the school enrolls Year 13 students next year. Complete with an art and science centre, open space and closed classrooms, a media digital suite and office spaces, the building is designed to suit senior students' learning. Strong demand for new houses at Papamoa and the Lakes has driven a $10 million surge in building approvals for Tauranga. The City Council issued 83 house consents worth $27 million last month, compared with 57 consents in February 2013. Most consents were for the big three greenfield subdivisions of Golden Sands and Palm Springs at Papamoa and the Lakes at Pies Pa West. In sport, the Avanti Drome's first major event since opening a few weeks ago is being hailed as a success. The elite and under-19s track cycling championships were held last weekend, and while there were a few hiccups, Home of Cycling Chief Executive Jeff Baum was thrilled at the turnout, which saw the Avanti Drome almost filled to capacity on Saturday night, with 1,300 spectators watching the action. Taking a look at the marine forecast now. The West Coast developing late Thursday to a southeast of 15 knots, southwest swell becoming moderate on Thursday, and high tide at Raglan is 1 o'clock on the dot Thursday morning. Heading to the east coast, a variable of 5 knots, but a northerly of 10 knots during the afternoon, with sunny spells expected, and high tide 19 minutes to 11 Thursday morning. Still to come on Central News, I have a go at the Avantidrome, and just ahead we find out more about the Roman Machines exhibition at Waikato Museum. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. An exhibition at Waikato Museum showcasing the genius behind Roman inventions is proving to be very popular. Roman Machines is on until May the 4th, and as Education Manager Jennifer Hamilton explains, the Romans invented so many aspects that we take for granted in everyday life.
Well, I think many of them are absolutely surprised by those everyday inventions that we take for granted. For instance, the Romans invented left and right shoes. We're talking with our students about the Roman roads. Did you know they invented speed bumps and pedestrian crossings? These small things that we nowadays take for granted are really fun for children to explore the origins. A really great one is, of course, getting the wrong end of the stick, that popular saying that we've used over and over again. It actually comes from Roman toilets. Sponges on sticks were used instead of toilet paper. And I have to say it's hilarious in the classroom when we tell them that one.
This exhibition is really hands-on. What can visitors see and do?
Well, they can virtually touch everything. We have 30 machines that are fully interactive, so this is a huge opportunity for people to try things, to really learn more about the mechanics of how each one of the individual machines works. For instance, the very first machine they'll come across is the odometer. We still have one in our car today. The Romans need to measure distance. They used a cute little invention, an odometer.
Your education team has developed 4 focus areas. What are they?
They're the Growing Up Roman program, where we investigate what it was like to be a child in the Roman era. We look at All Roads Lead to Rome. That is about the growth and development of the empire, the roading systems, and how civil engineering helped to build this fantastic empire. We have military aspects, perhaps more for older children. So we also look at Rome wasn't built in a day. That's looking at the wonderful creation of things like the Colosseum. What a fantastic building that is. And children are really excited to learn what was underneath the floor in the arena, what was up above, and how this stadium worked as a wonderful public entertainment.
The exhibition is quite hands-on. Tell me about the catapult.
Yes, we have actually several giant catapults, and students are able to see how those work, and they're all making in our classroom little miniature catapults, and gosh, they can shoot a long way with them.
This exhibition is proving very, very popular. Are there still spaces available in your school program?
Our program is filling up very quickly, so we encourage schools to book now. We've been extremely lucky to secure an extension of this exhibition, so we're going to have it for a couple more weeks.
It's not only the elite cyclists amongst us that are excited about the Avantidrome in Cambridge, with 65 hours a week available to be used by the public. The Avantidrome has put together programs that will enable even novice riders to have a go on the world-class track. So I donned my cycling gear and helmet and headed along to the Avantidrome to find out more.
So our mantra is no bike, no helmet, no lycra, no problem. And that really came about because we've got 100 community bikes here that people can come and use to have a go on the track. And then people will turn around and say, well, I don't have a helmet, and that's fine because we've got 100 helmets as well. And then the other thing people would say is, well, I don't like wearing lycra. You don't need to wear lycra to come on our track. If you want to, that's great, but if you don't want to wear lycra, that's totally fine as well. So that's where our mantra came from.
The Have a Go sessions are all about just that, aren't they? Having a go.
Definitely. A lot of people haven't been on a track bike before, or even on a track, and especially one that's got steep corners like this one. So we've started up a program which is called Have a Go, and that basically gets people on a fixed wheel bike for the first time, and we start them off on the flat, and by the end of the session we'll get them going onto the track itself.
Now, Nikki, as a complete track novice, I'm standing here looking at this track, looking at the steepness of it, and I can't see myself on there riding confidently in an hour.
Of course you can. I hope you've got your kit with you, because come on, I'm going to get you on the track now.
Okay, Nikki, you've kitted me out, you've got me the helmet and the bike, we're ready to go. Now what?
Now the fun really starts. So we're going to put you on your fixed wheel bike and we'll start off together. We'll start off on the apron, which is the flat bit, and once I'm happy that you understand the bike, we'll then start going up the track. So put your helmet on and let's go and have some fun.
Oh my goodness, oh, I'm feeling nervous. Here we go.
Come on, let's go ride. Ready?
Yep.
Let's go.
Don't stop pedaling. That was fun. I really enjoyed that.
See, it's not that bad after all. It is really good fun. So this time though, we're going to go a little bit faster, and we're actually going to get you up onto the timber and onto the track itself.
As in the steep part?
Yes, onto the steep part.
Okay.
So don't forget, speed is your friend. So you just need to keep pedaling, keep going at a fast pace, follow me, and we'll get you on that track like a pro.
Okay, let's do this.
Come on, let's go.
I can't believe I did that. That is amazing, absolutely amazing. You need to come and have a go for yourself. Go to the website avantidrome.co.nz. All the details are there. Nikki, thank you so much.
Thank you, you've been great.
I'd just like to say it felt very, very steep on that track. Loads of fun. Make sure you put it on your to-do list. Still to come, we chat with the CEO of Christelp Jewellery and find out more about the House of Science. That's next on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. The House of Science was established 3 months ago by former secondary school science teacher Chris Duggan to enrich science education across the community. Hilary went along to the House of Science to see what inspired Chris to start it all.
I've been involved in science education for 15 years in a range of high schools here in the Bay of Plenty, and I have a passion for education and for science, and have seen for many years a need, or I guess a desire, to help out primary teachers with education, science education in the primary schools, and resourcing that, but also keen to see better connection between primary, secondary and tertiary education, between local secondary, tertiary education and industry, to really facilitate those connections, because there's some awesome science happening locally here, and I felt that often the primary teachers and secondary teachers, as well as the students, aren't aware of the opportunities and the neat things that are happening locally.
This is a unique facility. I mean, what's involved in starting something like that?
Well, it's a real team effort. Priority One, the local economic development agency, have been very supportive, and when I first heard about a concept of a House of Science, it actually came up out of the Intercoast project, which is a collaboration between the University of Waikato here in Tauranga and University of Bremen in northern Germany. They have a collaborative program, and in Germany, in this city of Bremen, there is a House of Science there. So when Intercoast was first set up about 4 years ago here, there was talk that there would be a House of Science in Tauranga as well. And like I said, I had those kind of issues going around in my head, you know, that I felt we could be doing better, and I thought, wow, this House of Science, this sounds like this could answer a lot of those issues. So I thought, I want to find out more, and I want to be involved in this. And it's kind of grown out of there, and Priority One have been extremely supportive, as have the University of Waikato, in helping develop this into what it is now. So yes, there's a team approach, and we decided about 8 or 9 months ago that we should explore this further and set it up as a charitable trust. So a trust was formed in July last year, and we've now got charitable status, and so there's a team of 5 of us on that board, with made up of Priority One, University of Waikato, my old principal actually from Girls College, myself, and a secondary science advisor.
Why do you think then that most young people aren't interested in science?
Well, I think if you ask someone, would you like to explode stuff? They'd be very interested. So when you say they're not interested, I think that there's a bit of a fear of science. There's an impression or an idea that it's only for bright people, that it's hard. And for some people that it's really boring, and I think that comes out of what happens in our education system. If you go back to a lot of the primary schools, and I've been visiting principals for the last 8 months, primary principals agree that their teachers struggle with resourcing and struggle with the confidence to teach science in the primary classroom. So what you find is larger schools tend to have science experts. They might have one, maybe two, if they're really lucky, teachers who are in charge of science, and so they may buy some resources for the primary schools. They may develop a few programs, but invariably those resources end up sitting in a resource room and they don't get used an awful lot because not everyone knows how to use them, or if they do venture into the resource room to find those resources, they tend to be dated, not working, or too hard to use. So there's a lack of confidence in the primary classroom. So what happens is that the science expert may take the gifted and talented kids for science once a week, and so those kids, because, well, for whatever reason, they end up with a little bit of extra science education, but the other 90% of the kids in the school don't get an awful lot of science. So then they end up at college in year 9, 12, 13 years old, and suddenly they have to do science because it's compulsory at college. And the majority of the kids will go, whoa, hang on a minute, I wasn't one of those gifted and talented extension kids. I never did science in primary school. I can't do this. And there's a few kids in the class that did have the privilege of going to those courses. So they have got that knowledge. The teacher ends up with a whole range of abilities in front of them in year 9 and has just over or just under 3 years to get these kids through NCEA level 1, and the kids are all expected to have some science credits by the time they sit year 11 science. So that's a huge job for the teacher to try and do in secondary schools, and a lot of them resort to very boring programs with a lot of content has to be crammed in because so many of the students have so little knowledge when they come. So yeah, I think that's a lot of the underlying issues. I interviewed 100 students middle of last year, secondary students, year 11, year 12, and over 60% did not remember doing any science in primary school. So either the science wasn't very memorable or there just wasn't any. So that's 60% of our teenagers don't remember doing any science in primary school, which is scary.
What do we have then in our primary schools?
Well, they're very good at literacy and numeracy, and that's what the government has been pushing with the national standards that have been so prevalent lately. And principals that I've spoken to will agree that science hasn't been a priority in the last 5 or so years, but they're realising now that as the literacy and numeracy programs have become embedded and they're a lot more confident to meet the milestones that the government have said, that maybe they need to start looking at doing science a little bit better. But resourcing it is really hard in the primary school. Where do they find resources, and then how do they keep those up to date? So that's what we're hoping to help out with here.
For more information, go to houseofscience.org.nz. After the break, we head to Cambridge Country Store and find out what makes Christaup jewellery so popular. That's next on Central News. Welcome back to Central News. The Cambridge Country Store recently played host to international CEO and owner of Christaup Jewellery. I recently spoke with manager Cheryl Glover and CEO Walter Pfeiffer to discover what makes the Austrian crystal jewellery so popular in New Zealand.
Looking at it from the point of a consumer, I would say that the huge advantage of our jewellery is that you get top quality jewelry in actual design at reasonable prices, but not on a global basis. When you go for jewelry of one of the top brands, you get the same design, the same colors, the same style all over the world. No matter where you go to, in all shops you get about the same. With Christaup jewelry, you have the opportunity to get something unique. Your friend would not have access to the same. It is something special, something exclusive.
Cheryl, is that why the Cambridge Country Store stocks Christaup?
The real reason we stock it would be the quality. We The Cambridge Country Store, or the Pink Church as it's mostly known, is pretty iconic in New Zealand as a store, and we're known for the quality of our merchandise, and Christelp fits right into that.
How's it received by customers?
Our customer base here are older, my age and upwards. They are women that have worn gold and diamonds all their life, and now of course the trend is for fashion jewellery, that you can accessorise different jewellery with different outfits, and Christelp is affordable but is still the quality. I've had some of my rings mistaken for genuine diamonds. The quality is superb, but it's affordable, that you can change with each outfit.
Walter, you started Christelp in 2001 after working for over 20 years for another well-known crystal brand. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was exactly the interesting time, the 20 years with Swarovski, 22 years to be precise, where I had the chance to learn everything about making jewelry, about marketing jewelry, and I still benefit from these days, and try to make it different. Not to copy Swarovski or to make something similar, but to find our own path. The jewelry market is so big, so huge, that there is room for everybody, and our position is to be smaller, to be exclusive, but to make jewelry in a top quality at affordable prices. Like our distributor here in New Zealand says, more affordable than it looks like.
Cheryl, is that the feedback you receive from your customers?
Absolutely, and I think the depth of the range is another reason for its popularity. It can go from funky young people, it's right on trend, but it still has classic pieces as well, and our customers enjoy the depth of the range.
Walter, where to from here for Christelp jewellery?
Now we started as a regional brand, and when here I'm today in New Zealand, and we take more and more serious the international demand for our products, and it definitely will have an influence in our future design and creative work. And I'm looking forward to that. There's so much impulse we get through the days traveling through the North Island now. I'm sure it will continue in the south as well.
For more details on Christelp jewellery, go to christelp.co.nz. Time to take a look at the weather at your place now. Heading to Hamilton first, mainly fine with light winds and a high of 25 degrees expected. Paeroa, fine spells with the odd shower and a high of 25, low of 13 overnight. Matamata, you have the same with a high of 23 and a low of 13. Te Awamutu, the same again, 25 degrees with a low of 11. And Tokoroa, mainly fine, the chance of a shower later on Thursday, 22 degrees your high. Heading to the Bay of Plenty now, with Tauranga expecting a fine day, light winds and a high of 24 degrees. Te Puke, mainly fine with the odd shower and a high of 22 degrees. That's Central News for Wednesday the 19th of March. Make sure you like our Facebook page and don't forget to let us know if there's news or an event happening in your community. Thanks for joining me. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.